Welcome to the Founderville.vc podcast. This is a podcast where we like to talk to founders, to entrepreneurs, anybody in the innovation ecosystem. We love people that support entrepreneurs. My name's Shay Hauser. Today, I'm here with a good friend of the podcast, our newest portfolio addition. This is Mr. Alex Bezzebuts. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Close. CEO, founder and CEO of My Mechanic. Fired up to have you here, dude. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Been a long time coming. Excited to be here.
Yeah, no
Gonna
doubt.
Jump in and talk through some stuff.
Absolutely. So is this one of your first podcasts? Have you done a couple of these things?
Yeah, I've done a couple. I look back, I always cringe because I'm like flapping my hands around or I'm like, I don't watch them. I just cringe out. But I've also been, one of the things that we've been focusing on is doing it with our customers, letting our customers speak and be heard. And I've been cringing out for the longest time, and the team's like, do it. So hopefully this will help me kind of be pushed into and get more of these going. Well,
so far so good. There's been no major flapping that I've seen other than me.
I'm holding my hands down here.
You're sitting on your hands. Oh Lord. Well, dude, things have been just blowing up for you guys.
Yeah.
We get to, of course, have coffee every once in a while. We catch up. We stay in touch. I watch the LinkedIn content. What I know is things are just exploding right now, and it's exciting to watch. Tell us about My Mechanic. Like, what is this company? What do you guys do?
Yeah. So My Mechanic is the first true agnostic marketplace when it comes to maintenance and breakdowns in the transportation industry. Everybody sees trucks on the side of the road stranded, right? And what people don't know is sometimes those trucks can sit up to 4 hours. And as you're waiting for a mechanic or a technician to arrive, there's no visibility, there's no communication. And so the concept and the idea is if you can order your DoorDash or Uber Eats or request a ride, why can't you request a mechanic via digital experience? Why do we have 7 to 11 phone calls per breakdown per side? And so My Mechanic brings everything online, starting from the dispatch to the driver visibility, as well as the service provider and the call center. So we have 3 types of customers. On one side, we have trucks, owner-operators, trucking companies, motorhomes, anything big and diesel. In the middle, we have call centers, people that have relationships with fleets and providers, but not their own providers. And then on the other side, the last side, we have mechanics, tow trucks, shops, and parts. And so everybody comes on one agnostic platform. Our largest competitive edge is the fact that we're brand agnostic. We don't have an investment from the industry. We're not tied to a specific brand, and so it gives us an opportunity to go everywhere and help companies grow and meet in the middle.
Yeah, the thing that I love about this business, like when we first met, the thing I thought was I had this image of the 18-wheeler on the side of the highway and the truck driver, getting on the phone calling dispatch. Like, what's wrong? Yeah. I don't know. The engine's like it's broke, right? And then the dispatch going through this Excel spreadsheet or going through this screen and then literally just pounding the phones, trying to get a service technician to figure out if they're available and could they get out there and is it possibly the right service technician to fix? And I'm like, well, that's simply not efficient.
Exactly.
So I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I felt like if y'all could build a platform that could connect those dots and create efficiency inside of that workflow, along with having PO engine, essentially billing components, approvals, get all that. This is a pretty good idea, y'all.
Yeah, I forgot who said it, and there's this concept that if you can find an opportunity where you reduce or remove phone calls, there's an opportunity there for technology, right?
No doubt.
And so everyone's all about AI, but you can think of AI as like the left side of your brain, right? And you just made a post about it. There's this influx of everybody investing into AI and there's no ROI.
Right.
Well, before AI, you need an operating system of some sort, something that manages the business, and then AI gets plugged in to make it more efficient or help it grow or whatever, right? And so that's what we want to do. We wanted to come to these fleets and these providers and say, look, you might not need new providers, but you need a better way to communicate with existing providers. And then we go to these providers, and believe it or not, some of these guys that we talk to, they can have 100, 200 technicians, and they have pencil and paper or pen and paper that they're giving to their technician. And we're here to help them. We truly are. We're for the small businesses, and in addition, the fleets benefit off of that.
Where are you seeing as much benefit from the service technicians as you are the fleet? In other words, it seems like if I'm a service technician, the first thing I would want to do is sign up with you guys and become a part of your network because it's going to just drive increased business for me.
Yeah, so the philosophy we had in the beginning was let's build this around the providers. Even though the fleets are bigger, they have more money. But if we build this around the providers and we create a platform that they can't live without, and therefore they will be online, the fleets will always use My Mechanic because they will, it'll be there for them. And so first we created a platform that the providers need in there to manage their business, payroll, technician tracking, all of that. You walk into these businesses and they'll have 5 tabs open. 1 to track their technician, 1 for billing, and then 10 to have like leads coming in. And so we want to centralize all of that for them. And so now they're looking at one screen. We did a quick little podcast the other day with our first customer in Dallas, and I was doing the podcast with him, and his lead dispatcher was standing manning the cameras, and she was on her iPad running road calls.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's so cool because she couldn't talk because we had the microphones live, but she ran several road calls. And I'm like, that's it. That's what we're trying to do right there. It was like perfect.
Man, that's amazing. So, yeah, I mean, it's an exciting business to watch. I'm fired up. Like, I'm glad that we're partners in this thing. I'm glad to be an investor. I'm proud and excited to watch this thing grow over the coming years. Let's back up a little bit. I mean, how the heck did you get here? I mean, give us some of the origin story, because I think a lot of founders that are early in their career look at something like this where it's like you've got this company, it's growing, it's expanding rapidly. How did you get from point A to point B? Because it is so darn hard to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably go back to my childhood. I was born in Ukraine and came to America in '98. And my dad he's just a different kind of person. When he thinks outside the box. Like I will remember our neighbors built a fence, and they ordered fences and they put up a fence. My dad would go to Home Depot, buy a bunch of planks, and I'm like, oh God, this is going to be the ugliest thing ever. And then we had the nicest deck. And so as a kid, my dad indirectly taught me how to reverse engineer things. And I remember getting my butt whooped because I would take things apart. And a couple of times almost started fires, but I didn't know how to put them back. And so growing up, I would always have this mindset of like, you pull up to a street light and you see green, yellow, and red. Well, what if we did shapes so that colorblind people can understand? You start reversing things and you find 2 good solutions and 2 bad solutions that are stupid. But you start creating, like you prepare your mind to think outside the box. And so then I was working at a deal in Dallas where my wife and I moved to fire up a repair shop, and we were going to sell it as a real estate play. And during that time, we had a 12
repair shop for 18-wheelers for diesel?
Yeah. It was a big operation. We raised some capital to flip, and I knew nothing about it, and I thought I could pull it off, and that was the biggest mistake. I came in there, and we got our first call. They're like, hey, do you do a PM? I'm like, 1 second. I hung up. I was like, what's a PM? All right. Preventative maintenance. All right. What's the cost? 1 sec. What's the average cost? And so went out, poached a couple of guys in the industry who built the whole infrastructure, and I was just out trying to get customers and grow the business. And we were getting a lot of road calls, but we were declining them because we weren't set up for it. But since being one of the larger shops in Dallas, Texas, we were pretty big on the map. And one day I was sitting, and My Mechanic was next to me, hence the name. And he's like, let me go run this call. And he runs the call, and I'm like, less overhead, quicker response, we made more money. There's something here. So I found 5 roadside companies in Dallas. I brokered a deal with them, and I was like, I'll do the marketing. I'll get you leads. I'll pay you this much. And I went on Google, all these different directories, and I branded my name. So we started getting a lot of calls. And one day, one of the largest fleets in the country calls me, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, this is my in. I'm a nobody. They called me. And they're like, hey, we have a jack stand that's stuck in one of our yards. Can you guys come out? I'm like, absolutely. And I go down my list of vendors, and only the last guy's the only one that was like, yeah, I can do it. I'm like, okay, whatever. How long? He's like, 35 minutes, I'll be there. So I called the company, being naive as I was. I'm like, we'll be there in 34 minutes. And so they're like, great. I hung up. I go to dinner with my wife. 2.5 hours later, they called me for the payment. And I take the call, and he's like, hey, are you coming? Oh. I'm like, 1 second. And I hang up, and I start calling that vendor. He doesn't answer. 10 times later, he finally answers. I'm like, dude, where are you? He's like, I'm sleeping.
Oh, my gosh.
Long story short, he tells me he passed out at the yard, and he's in a Camry with a toolbox. And I'm like, are you high? And he said, yes. And I'm mad at this point. I lost my chance. What if I get sued?
Yeah.
He gets in there, he does it, he calls me back 15 minutes later. I call them for the payment, and the guy's second question to me was, "Hey, can we add you to our network of vendors? You were pretty quick."
Jeez.
And I'm like, "Really?" And so I'm like, on the phone, I'm like, again, reverse engineer. I'm like, "What is your process like?" And he's like, "Well, our drivers break down. They'll be on the phone 15 to 30 minutes to let us know they broke down. And then we go down a list of vendors and we hope somebody comes out within 46 hours. I'm like, "So you have no visibility?" He's like, "Well, we have phone calls." I was like, "But anybody could lie." And he's like, and I literally said on the call, I'm like, "What if there was an Uber for roadside?" And he's like, "Yeah, if only." And so I hung up and I spent probably several weeks looking for in the market for something. And what I saw was there's a lot of platforms or technology, but those platforms were centric to a business. And so you have big brands like Michelin, Bridgestone, Goodyear that have this money invested into technology, but that technology is for them and their business. Mm-hmm. And so as a fleet, if I break down in Dallas, I have to go to 15, 20 different platforms that don't communicate. And if I'm a provider, everybody's telling me download my app, but those apps are just for their leads. Mm-hmm. And so the idea and the concept I started looking at was like, hey, what if we created this brand agnostic that brings everybody together? And so I started pulling over on the side of the interstate, talking to drivers. I still have videos of my wife screaming, "Get back in the car." I sat on the side of the interstate for one time for several hours, and I'm not exaggerating, just to be like, what do I want to see? What do I want to feel if I'm a driver sitting on the side of the road? And then the one thing that I did that I credit myself to is I listened to the industry. I asked so many questions. I would annoy people and like, what would you want? What about this? What about that? And we started coming out with the concept. A lot of trial and error. Brutal industry because you're introducing something that people haven't experienced or seen. And so that's kind of the difference between somebody starting a company that's been like a flooring company or innovating a startup and innovating the way people think and react. And so just piggybacked off of Uber, Airbnb, Thumbtack,
sure,
all of those guys, listened to all the podcasts. And it was brutal. Worked 3 jobs. My cousin and I would buy motorhomes in California, and I would fly in. I would negotiate, bring the price down as much as I could, and I would drive him back to Carolina. Meanwhile, for 2-3 days, listening to a podcast nonstop, and then we'd sell it here. It was just, but we made it. I mean,
yeah.
It was hard. But
that whole time, well, just time out real quick. I mean, the one thing I heard that you said, or you didn't say, it just resonated through the story, is like you have a deep sense of curiosity.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're super curious, and I think for founders, that constant asking the question of how do we do it better, how do we do it different, coming out of pure curiosity is so crucial. It's a component, it's an aspect of every personality that we look for in founders, because if they're not curious genuinely, they're going to have a hard time digging out the real problem and creating the solution that's needed to be there.
Yeah, I tell people I would rather fall off a cliff and take 9 months to heal both my legs than to be walking down slope for 9 months and then to realize you've been going the wrong way. Yeah. By then you
figure it out fast.
Yeah, you fail fast, fail hard. And if anybody asked me what I would tell my younger self, that's it. Go make mistakes. And I think that's a lot of these successful unicorn startups is they were always looking and they would pivot, and they pivoted into something that blew the company up. Mm-hmm. And so there's always the importance of crossing a line of always pivoting, but to your point, curiosity is probably one of the strongest assets, absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt. So when all this was going on, were you still in Dallas?
Yeah, we started out in Dallas, and it was really hard on my wife because we had our first child, and I was traveling a lot, and we didn't have anybody in Dallas. And so we moved back to Carolina here, and I thought it would be a mistake. But in reality, it was probably the most strategic thing we could have done because there's so much opportunity here. I mean, you have Big Blue, Michelin, right?
Yeah,
it's like one of the biggest pinnacles in the industry when it comes to this. 8 minutes from my house now. And then obviously, I did not know that Greenville has such a huge influx of technology and just people like yourselves that are embracing it and helping. And so it's been the greatest thing that could have happened.
That's fantastic. So how did you go from you've got this repair facility in Dallas that you're trying to build out. At the same time, you're realizing that's not the opportunity. The opportunity is it's over here with this digital platform. How did you make that shift? I mean, and then what I'm how did you start this? What was the fire to where you're like, this is the direction we have to take, and I know it right now, and now I'm going all in on that direction?
Yeah. So to your point, running a startup, running a company like Roadside is extremely hard. There are so many variables and factors that could go wrong, and it's very difficult when those factors are outside of your control, where it doesn't matter what you say or can do about it. But when I saw that this could genuinely help the industry, like there are small businesses that are suffering right now. They're dying every day, especially in this economy, in this trucking world. And then you look at the transportation side, and I saw that if you can stay lean, this thing could literally just sprawl into something massive, because you bring on a trucking company, they have their providers. You get them, those providers have their companies that they work, and it just starts spiraling.
So the flywheel goes.
Yeah. And so I kind of looked at it, and I'm like, okay, I can make X amount trying to do what I'm doing here, or I could do this and either fail but learn a lot, but most likely it's going to succeed. And if I succeed, there's the opportunity here.
How did you step through the fear?
Oh, man. I'll be honest. I don't think it was fear. I think it was just being naive and stupid.
Oh, I love it.
You have to be, man. The fear is the fear of not paying. Like, okay, what's the fear? Of not having money during a startup?
Right.
You can have a side job. I hustled. I was working 12, 14, 18 hours a day sometimes. So you take that fear out. What other fear? You just replace that with like, I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. And so the stupid part is it's like, you're going to look back and you wasted 2-3 years of your life, and then put your family through all this. We were doing really well financially because I was working so many jobs, but I had to pay for all the engineering, and my wife was just looking at me like, how much longer is this going to happen? And so I think, number one, having a strong partner in your life that supports you is the most important thing.
Yeah.
But also surrounding yourself with people in the industry. Like, you and I meet up for coffee, and I leave and my mind is like, so it's like you can't be the smartest guy in the room. But it was hard. I'm not going to say it was easy. It was constant.
Well, listen, the fact that I meet with so many founders, and they get caught in many times with this. I've started to build the product, but like I can only go so far because I don't have access to capital. I can't build anymore, and I'm stuck. And what you just said was like, I worked 3 jobs. Yeah. Like I remember when we first met, like one of the times we first met, we had lunch, and y'all were down to 1 car.
we my wife and I shared.
You shared a car for a while, and I was like,
almost 3 years, yeah.
but when the crazy thing though, Alex, like when I left that lunch, Scott and I walked out, and you walked off, and we looked at each other, and we were like, that right there is grit. Like this guy is going, like we'll back this guy, period. It doesn't matter what he does, because when you have that type of grit and resilience and determination, like probably it's going to work out in some way. So like that's why for the audience, like I had to chase this guy to give him money. Like that's I had to chase him, and I beat him down just over time. He finally gave in.
No, look, raising capital in this market is no joke, especially in transportation, where there was this flip. VCs used to throw money at technology and transportation, and then when transportation started being volatile after COVID, people start pulling back because then people's valuations were like, really though? And so for us coming in, we got the short end of the stick. Everyone's looking at us like we're paying for everybody's mistakes. And so, but I love that happened because I was forced to keep finding solutions.
Yeah.
It's like you could throw money at anything and it might not work. But if you don't have money, I wish I could sometimes go back to those moments, because you will always find a channel. If you have no money, you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
You can't just sit there and be like, oh, we have no money.
No.
We can't. You have to. Like, it's going to die.
You have no choice. It's going to die. You're going to hit that's how you hit. I think that's how so many founders hit the wall, is they hit that block of I've exhausted the resources, and now it's just easier to give up. And it's like, no, that right there that's what makes the successful entrepreneur
100%.
different from the unfortunately so many that fail, is they hit that point and it's like, I'm going to grind through in some manner, whatever it takes. And I think you took the approach of whatever it takes, it's going to take, and I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, I tell our team every day, I'm like, you guys, no matter, forget the money that's in the account, forget the contracts we have, forget everything. Every day we're a dying company.
Yeah, I love
like
it.
We're dying every day. And it puts pressure on the team in the sense of like figure out solutions. The other day I was talking with one of our guys and he was so stressed out because I keep doing that. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to tell you a little secret. I'm like, we're actually fine. But I'm like, I don't want you to think. He's like, why don't you tell us that? I'm like, because then you're going to relax.
Yeah.
Like we got to always like fight. If somebody says no, great, why not? And maybe there's a why not of like, well, we have that, or here's a solution.
Right.
We've had that happen several times.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. Like, you just got to keep pushing.
We had one of the previous phone companies that we did, we had a chief operating officer, this guy that had come out of AT&T and was just super well trained. And he always talked about pressuring the management team. The image we create is like a teapot where you just boil the water. You get the water hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. And all of a sudden the teapot's like screaming, right? And he's like, there are times in which I've got to turn the water up. And I've got to turn it up until that teapot is just boiling and screaming. And the management team is just like, just freaking out. And then like, whew, let the pressure off, pull the pot off. Yeah. Right. And then let them settle a little bit and go, okay. But it's like occasionally you just got to squeeze because that's the message that has to be delivered at the time. It's kind of like, I guess most recently the OpenAI, the code red, right? And it's code red for a reason. It's because Google and Gemini just freaking dominated the charts. I mean, they're up at the top and people are downloading and they got so many users. And of course it's code red time because what are the options?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, but there's also this aspect to that teapot where there are things that are going to come out from your team, like suggestions, ideas, other connections, relationships. They're going to go hungrier. And it's not just them feeling stressed out, but I told the team the other day, I'm like, look, guys, I promise you, when this thing blows up, looking back, you will regret not enjoying and being present in the suffering. And I don't want to take that away from you because you're going to feel like you built this. But if you just felt good and everything's going to be fine, you're not going to have a sense of like attachment to that early day startups. Like you look at any podcast with these Microsoft, Google, Facebook, and they always go back to that in the closet or in that garage story. And it's like there's so much power there. And at the end of the day, like we know this is going to work out just with everything that's happening, but I'm trying to enjoy the process because you're learning, you're seeing things. I'm on the road all the time talking to customers, trying to be present, hearing them out, getting on whatever I need to do. We have titles for titles, but everybody's in it, in the trenches every day.
Yeah, I mean, I think being present during the process is overlooked. It's for the CEO, it's crucial. Like you've got to be present because you have to listen. You have to actively, to your point, listen to the team and collect information. The team has to have total trust in you, which I believe they do. And then, there's a concept that's been around forever, a management concept. It's essentially management by walking around, right? And it's you talking to the team just at lunch, just on the side of the building, just whatever it might be, and you're just getting information. You're getting them to talk. It's open-ended questions because that's where you get a sense of what is really happening, where the no pun intended, where the rubber meets the road, right, from the team.
Yeah, you're right. And one of my strongest assets that I have is I'm very self-aware, and I know if I can't do it, it's not my line. I don't cross that line. I joke like, getting into finances, doing taxes isn't my thing, so I haven't done taxes in 15 years, but it's a joke. But like I stick to what I'm good at, and if what I'm good at, I double down on. And like even in the industry, we have a very old school industry that I'm dealing with. And I quickly understood that there's a lot of veterans in this industry that have built this place, but they haven't been heard, they have been missed, overlooked. And so I'm like, I could go and try and build this industry by myself and deliver my mechanic. Or I could reach out to these people and actually listen to them and give them an opportunity to do what they've been trying to do for 20, 30 years, but nobody's let them. And that has been the craziest ROI because these people are getting me in the door. These people are helping us grow, and they're like partners now. And so for me, I can just kind of like take that and run with it. And that instead of being, King Kong walking around like my way or the highway and telling the employees what to do, I'm the youngest guy in the company, believe it or not. And so there's obviously that respect of understanding like these people are older than me, and I'm trying to lead from behind because they're leaders that I brought together. Sure. Everybody in our company has built something, and I'm like, you're here not to listen to what I have to say, but to build something, and you have attributes to do so. And I'm going to let you do it until we have a conversation. And so I haven't had to pull out the CEO card once. Yeah. We never, I cringe. I ask the people not to introduce me as CEO because people look at me like, oh, he's whatever. So, but you're right. It's just letting this team roll as well, and management from walking around. If that's
Management by walking around.
Yeah.
I used to always introduce myself to potential clients as co-founder. That's what I'm one of the co-founders. I'm one of the co-founders, and I felt like that always helped build the team atmosphere because I didn't use the CEO. Sometimes you have to, right? But it was more about like, look, we're a team, and there's a deep bench here, and collectively we're totally focused on this. I think one of your strongest attributes is your ability to see. You've got this vision of what this is supposed to be and where it's going to go, and you bring that vision together so that the team can build around it. I think that's you do a great job at that, Alex.
I'm going crazy doing it. Like, I'm not exaggerating, man. I was just showing the team notes at 1:27 in the morning. I had an idea, and I'm putting it together. 2 weeks ago, I had an idea at Saturday, and I called the team, validated, and it was embarrassing, but I called the VP of UPS at like 7 p.m. on Saturday.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, Bill, I'm sorry, but is this a valid idea? And he's like, run with it. This is good. I was like, all right, thank you for taking the call.
Those are good potential customers when you call on a Saturday evening.
Yeah, and so it's like, all right, great. But like my mind is constantly running, always.
So that's the founder. That's the entrepreneur. I mean, there's no working hours. There's no weekend.
No.
It's every day is a work day. Every hour is a work hour. Whether you're in the shower, whether you're at the gym or whatever, it's like click, 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 click. It's just going.
I argue with people that write the fancy books and the fancy podcasts of a work-life balance.
Yeah.
I think that's complete
It's
BS.
nuts,
it's
man.
impossible.
No.
And I had apologized to my wife for it. Like there are times where we're spending family time and I'm nodding and my mind is like, what are we doing here?
Oh, yeah.
But again, it goes back to the partner point because if it was there, like if she wasn't on board, then it would be brutal.
Yeah.
But because you're against that. But you're right. You have to be obsessed with the product. You have to be obsessed with the problem. You have to be obsessed with the solution, obsessed with the customers. And that obsession brings back ideas, concepts, et cetera. And so we've been very innovative in that sense and are competing in the matter of it's us. We're competing against ourselves. How can we deliver the product to the industry? And if there is somebody that was a competitor in the beginning, I figured out a way how to integrate with them or work with them so we're not competing with them.
Sure.
And that has been very, worked out well for us too.
I think obsessed is the right word.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the very best founders that we work with are obsessed. It's all they think about, right? I mean, it's 24/7 on that particular project, whatever it is. That's what it takes. I mean, the process of building a startup, and here's what I've learned. It's always up and down. There's ebbs and flows. There's changes in momentum. Keeping your headspace level, sort of stoic, trying not to overreact. That's the hardest part of the business is maintaining sanity to make clear decisions and knowing. I always told myself, like, no matter how good I felt about whatever was going on, it's like there's going to be another shoe to drop. And so it's like having this healthy sense of paranoia of it's not good enough, it's not good enough. It can't be good enough. There's always got to be a better level, but you've always got to walk around in the back of your mind going, there's something I'm not thinking about. There's something missing. And then how do I also gauge that risk factor that could drain $500,000 from the bank, this unforeseen circumstance that puts us against the wall. But I mean, I think that's how we think.
You have to, and you look at all these people that complain about like Steve Jobs or even Tyler from Uber. Like it's like, hey, they're difficult to work for. It's like you have to also understand their mental state of you replaced your social life with that mental state of being obsessed with the product, and so you as a person you could miss out on all these different things of your children being raised or whatever, but the industry will benefit off. Small businesses will benefit, and there is no fair trade-off. And so I think, to your point, like you're constantly obsessed with it. You're walking around and your mind is drained, but that's what helps. Initially we had a pricing model that was X, Y, and Z, right? And I looked at the industry, and this was probably our greatest pivot this year. And I looked at the industry, and I'm like, okay, somebody's charging $80 to do somewhat what we're doing. And we were doing like 30, 40. And I'm like, all right, guys, we're undercutting the industry at the ankles to where even somebody might look at us as a competitor, they'll be like, let's just use them. And now our price is very transparent. It's $2.50 a side. In the beginning, the team, like the sales guys were upset. They're like, Alex, are you freaking kidding me?
It was going to hit their commissions.
Yeah. But I'm like, look, guys, we're in it for decades. Let's get the industry. 250 adds up pretty dang quickly. And not only that, but let's win these customers. Let's put them in a grocery store with a shopping cart, and they're going to opt into what features they want. We're going to build up that 250, but they're going to opt into it instead of coming in them and say, hey, buy everything in the shopping cart.
Sure.
And so that has been the greatest response from the industry because number one, I was super conscious of the market that we're in, which is down market. Number two, we understand there's a lot of trauma in this industry. People are holding payments, not getting paid on time, taking people's money. And we're like, all right, we're going to stay away from all that as well. What do we do to help both sides? And 250 aside, and the industry has responded to that. And so that has been the greatest pitch we've had. We were with one fleet, and they were like, the guy, we get in after a 2-month pilot, and he's like rambling, ROI. And I'm like, do you know our pricing model? And he's like, well, I'm assuming it's like, what, 100, 120 a month? I was like, no, it's $2.50. Well, you know, the ROI, and he just like changes, you know, and I'm like, you know?
Yeah.
But especially when you're pioneering something, you can't come to the industry and demand. You will be
no. You have to adjust. You have to adjust. I mean, I would imagine that pricing modification came through after meeting after meeting after meeting, and hearing different inputs from the potential clients and the existing clients. You've got to modify it.
Yeah, and if you don't want people going around you on the platform, it's like, I'll just make more money. Just let's not run it through the system. I'll pay you extra. It's like, you're not going to not do it now. And at the end of the day, with what we have in our pipeline and the customers, the fleets that we have, that 250 is millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's like we're winning. And I tell our customers, we don't need to make a lot of money to make a lot of money. You know, with our agnostic approach, we don't have a call center. We never will run a call. We don't have mechanics. We never will have mechanics. And so for us, it's just the tech and the company.
Yeah.
And where we want to go, we're building this ecosystem. And that's another pivot we had from being just a pure SaaS platform. We're now becoming a solution, and where we're integrating, where we're going to help you with billing and payments, like whatever the customer is asking for. We have technology that they can opt into or not, and they could use their system for part of it or ours. It's up to them.
Yeah, making it simple for the customer and removing all barriers. It sounds easy, but it's hard to do.
Oh yeah.
But it's once you get there and you find it, to your point, you start seeing the customers start picking up on it.
Yeah, because you think about it this way: where there's some people say 80,000 providers in the industry, and then you have millions of trucks, and you can't come to the industry with one way. Everybody has their business specifically ran a specific way, and so us being not always pivoting and always creating features for everybody, but creating a universal that people agree upon somewhat, and being enough to where they can say, "That's it, I'm okay with that."
Yep.
And obviously, our CTO doesn't want to be just bogged down with a bunch of features. So is it the message? Is it the sales? You know what I mean? So it's like mending the two and understanding, so you're not just going off in tandems.
Oh, no doubt. No, you can't just go create product or feature sets for one customer either. I mean, you've got to be thoughtful about it. Shifting gears a little bit, you've recruited like a lot of people on the team over the last 18 to 24 months. I mean, well, a couple things. One, how did you pull that off? Because you were, 2 years ago, you were this fledgling idea and building the platform out. But the thing I noticed about you is you somehow recruited great talent, and it's like, how did you pull that off? Was it pure storytelling? Like, are you sure?
Yeah. Well, besides God's grace on this, because that's the biggest thing. I'm going to preface with I made a couple big mistakes on hires. I learned some very heavy lessons on that, in the sense that you can't always just trust. You have to, and you're going to make those mistakes. You can't just not. But what I did, to your point, the story is like, hey, forget the sales. Bunker down a little bit. You tap into your personal savings. Our team is not getting paid luxuries at all. Like if some of the guys are literally getting half of what they were getting paid in the previous jobs, and these are big guys. Yeah. But what they see is it's a vision for them. It's them building something that they've been in the industry that they saw bogged down on. And they're like, I want to be a part of the solution. Yeah. And now we have, like today, I keep getting calls from people in the industry trying to join. And we're like, hey, you can just be an ambassador. Like you can talk about the product to people and we'll reward you in some sort of way as long as your employer's okay with it. but we don't need a bunch of people employees.
Yeah.
And naturally, this thing is spiraling out of control
Wow.
in that manner. But we brought on a couple of heavy hitters. Our CTO is just well known in the industry, super smart. He has a great tech team that he recruited, and I kind of don't like him because he came in and we realized we have to refactor, we have to rebuild some stuff.
He was like, hang on.
I didn't like that he was right, you know? And so it kind of stalled us out a little bit, like while we rebuilt that. But now that he built it bigger and better, and now we can take on these big juggernauts.
Much more scalable.
Yeah, so much.
Yeah.
And so you could think of it like what we used to have is you having all your properties, your companies under your name.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have a trust and we have all these LLCs now, and everything's protected, and you could build out a whole company in a feature of itself. And that ecosystem concept comes into play. And so we have a great team of engineers right now. Our core team is small and tight, but that's how we want it because we're learning mistakes, what the pitch should look like, and we're documenting things that when we do grow and add more people and hoping to build this office out this year and next year, and all that, then they come into something that's been battle tested.
Yeah.
Like I can tell a sales rep, sell this way because I've sold it this way.
Yeah.
It's not like I think it could work.
You're the top sales rep in the company.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah,
And this is, I think, again, thinking about founder lessons, for founders at an early stage, like they are the best sales rep, period. They better be.
They have to
the
be.
founders better be the best sales rep, and they better plan to go sell for a while, hopefully forever. I mean, you never stop selling, whether you're selling to the potential customer or, I think more important, for the CEO, for the founder over time, it's selling to potential employees. It is building the team because you've done it. You've been selling these employees this vision, this big vision, and it's paying off. I think in many cases founders don't understand the importance of that. It's not just selling clients, man. You're selling the vision to the employees and to the team, and that's how you build the culture around the company.
You said it earlier. A startup, and everybody who's been through a startup knows it's a freaking roller coaster.
Yeah.
Some days you're flying down, other days you're on a high and everybody's excited. And the thing that keeps the team together on one of those downfalls is that culture.
Yeah.
Is that trust, is believing. And I think if you can't sell a team member on it, how can you convince a customer to spend millions of dollars behind
That's
it?
right.
But the other thing you said that really stands out is as a founder, as a CEO, if you're selling, you're learning, you're understanding, you're communicating with your customers. How many startups failed because somebody brought in a high-end sales rep or a high-end executive and they killed the product?
Oh, yeah.
And we almost had that until we caught it, and we had to terminate that relationship. But upon recovery, I saw how I trusted those things to be done. But if I would have actually handled them.
Yeah.
And the customer explained that to me too.
Right.
And I'm like, well, I thought that he was doing it, but it's like there's a lesson to be paid with thinking. Like you have to know, and it's brutal.
Yeah. Inspect what you expect.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a really good quote,
it's one I was taught at an early age, which was you have to give the team the ability to perform, and you have to trust them. That doesn't mean you cannot inspect what you expect them to do.
Yeah.
You can expect them to do it. You're allowed to check it out.
You have to be.
Right? So, but I think that's hard because it's hard for founders. First of all, it's hard for most of us as founders to delegate and trust. That is because you can do it better than anybody, right? I can do it better than anybody. That's hard to do. But eventually, to scale the company, the only way you can scale the company is to give it all away.
Yeah.
You got to give it away. And then it's like, how do you inspect that information? How do you ensure that you're getting the customer feedback? Because right now, when you're in front of that potential client and they're talking about a feature, you're hearing it.
Absolutely.
And you're watching them, you're seeing the mannerisms, you understand how important it is. And then once you've heard that, if you hear it again and again and again, it's like, we have to do this feature. Like we don't have an option. I'm hearing it time and time again. You might not get that information in the same manner if you're not out in the field.
No, you're right. And I made myself a commitment early on that I'm not going to be that CEO. And I've told people straight up, if a better CEO comes around, by all means, like I want to be obsessed with the solution.
Yeah.
And I told even our board that I can sit and do all the P&Ls and all the spreadsheets and all the forecasts and do all this stuff for you, or I can go out and crush it and change the industry.
Let me go crush it.
Yeah. And so it's like, and I'm glad our investors and our board, and raising capital was brutal when we got into it. But people like even you guys made it so easy because number one, you said something. You looked at the founder.
Yeah.
But number two, you've seen what it's like to be as a founder and raise capital.
Yeah.
And you talk to some VCs, and it's a kid who came out of Harvard, and doesn't understand what you're going through. And he's like, so when's the return coming? And you're like, just throw his computer at you. Just don't talk, you know?
Yeah.
But
Can we end this conversation now?
But our lunch, I felt like you guys freaking understood the pain that I'm going through.
Well, I mean, that first lunch meeting, we felt the pain. Like we could feel it. We could sense your drive, your determination. We could feel the pain, and that's what quickly got us to, this is a guy we're going to back. We just got to figure out how to make it all work. So you mentioned raising capital. I mean, when in this process did you decide to raise capital, and then what was that process like? Because y'all raised capital, over the last year, and this is not the easiest environment to raise capital in. And from what I know, you guys raised more capital for an early stage tech venture in the upstate more than anybody else. I don't know of any other company in my network that raised as much capital as you guys did. So obviously there was a large group of investors. It wasn't just us. There was a large group of investors that believed in what you guys were doing. How did all that come about?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So initially my goal was, hey, I'm going to pound at this as hard as I can, as long as I can, until this thing takes off at some point, right? My first drawing, I sent a girl in Poland. And I'm like, can you create Figma files for it? And she did. And then I ran around town. Is this something you guys would use? And then I started documenting all that. And then I went out in a year, working 3 jobs, hustling, making it happen. I convinced a good friend of mine, a high net worth individual, and I respect him for it. He built a $500 million company right now.
Okay. And
he's one of the guys that built it. There's 3 partners in it. And what I really respect about him is he let me make some mistakes, and he let me feel the pain until the point where he knew it was no more. And then he pulled me out. It's like, all right, let's give you the first, I think it was like 100, 200,000.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you're going to need more. And I'm like, no, I got this. He's like, you're going to need more. I'm like, I got this. Yeah. We're going to be $1 billion company right away. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then a couple of months later, I'm like, hey, the conversation we had. And again, he like put me in the water. He's like, and allowing me to suffer through that point. I'm going to say suffer because every month you're wondering. I understood that there were a lot of things that I was doing that I thought money or investment would fix, but it would take us down the wrong. And instead of plugging holes or problems with money, we started finding solutions. Whether it was a sales pitch, whether it was a feature, whether it was connecting parties together or a different roadmap. And when he started seeing that, I think he started trusting that, hey, this is something. And again, when it came to raising capital, he was hands off. He's like, I'm not going to help you. And he was like, it was like a mentor, a friend, and he let me make mistakes. But then I found out that from the side, he would kind of nudge people just to help me out, but he never freaking told me that. Yeah. And so then it came around, at first we were seeking money in the industry. And then I realized quickly, let's not invest from the industry, because then our customers can see that, hey, we're completely agnostic. And you can share your data. We don't benefit off of that in any other way. And then I started looking local. I didn't know that there was a huge community in Greenville that is not only accepting technology, but trying to push it into Greenville.
Sure. And
you guys are one of them, right? Yeah. You're leading up on that. And so when I forgot how we came across you, I think it was through SCRA or something.
I can't remember how we connected either. I just... at this point, I can't remember.
But I'm glad we did. And then you guys came along, and then it was about putting the table together and letting investors know, hey, these guys are in, these guys are in.
Such a good point.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the storytelling of, I've got these people are interested, these people are interested. Like, I've got this, I've got that, I've got this. All I just need now is the first person to say they're in if all this other money's in. And then it comes together fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then that story, sometimes they might not be, and you're like, he hinted at it, so I'm going to tell the other guy he hinted, and I'm going to sell the story.
Yeah.
And then when it started coming together, it just, our first option didn't work out last minute for some reasons that I pulled the plug on. I didn't like, there's certain things that were stipulations.
I didn't like it either.
And I was like,
You remember, I was mad.
And I was like, this is going to take our company a different direction. I'm not okay with that. And then I'm like talking to you guys, and what got me with you is I called you, and I'm like, hey, this and this. And he's like, walk, and you told me walk away. And I'm like, that's not what you're supposed to tell me. You're supposed to tell me to go with it. Because you're like, don't do it, walk away. And I'm like, well, what's the other option? We have nobody else. A week later, after walking away, it just freaking came together. We got more money, better valuation, and a better group of investors in the board that's perfect right now.
That's great.
So I'll never forget that phone call with you.
It wasn't meant to be, you know what I mean? It was just, that was not meant to be, and they threw those terms out there for a reason. And I think, to me, it was more than a yellow flag. It was a red flag. It was like, these are not partners. These are sharks.
You said that, and you're a little more explicit than that.
Yeah.
You're like, and I was like, but Shay gets something from this. Why is he telling me to walk away? He's not going to get anything now from it. But I appreciated that about you, because you guys genuinely were founder-led. You guys believed in the founder, and you knew that was going to take me a different direction.
Yeah.
I didn't, because I was just like about the product, and raising capital is a whole other business model.
Sure.
And so you helped like put that together. So yeah, now we got funded, and now we're having fun, and scars on our backs to prove it. But it's just up and up, hopefully, from here.
It's an amazing story. You guys are building a great company. I'd love to tell you that you won't get any more scars on the back, but you're going to get some more scars. There's going to be many more ups and downs. But, you know, in my experience, you're going to have just one heck of a journey that you can be grateful for a long time. So I got to tell you, we're, as I said before, we're proud to be a part of the company. We're excited about it. Want to keep watching you guys grow. We'd love to put more money in at the appropriate time and just keep going. But Alex, this has been great. I've enjoyed the time, and thanks so much for being on the podcast. How if I'm a fleet, if I'm a repair technician, like, how do we get in touch with you? What do we do?
Yeah, I mean, you could LinkedIn. Our website is mymechanic.app, and so you can go on our website. But LinkedIn is probably the most popular one.
Yeah.
And just online, we keep hearing that My Mechanic is the buzzword.
I love it.
We say, don't use any mechanic, use My Mechanic.
Yeah, there you go. Don't use any mechanic, use My Mechanic. So
let's go.
Look, pal, it's been great. I've enjoyed the time. Y'all, this has been a great podcast and a great conversation. Alex is a phenomenal founder. You know why now. You got to hear his story and hear the curiosity, the determination, the grit, working 3 jobs. This is what it takes. It's just part of the grind. And if you're not willing to do it, I don't know what to tell you, because being a founder is not easy, is it?
And it's not for the money, I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah, at some point you'll get paid, too.
I hope so. I hope so.
Oh, Lord. All right, Founderville Podcast, over and out. Thanks so much for the time, y'all.